Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Caravan live stream against Trump. As you all know, Donald Trump is in town today in South Florida. And today we've been having a caravan, and we're going to take a look at what's been going on down at the scene in Calle Ocho, which is Little Havana in Miami. So we have one person down there right now, and he's going to kind of give us an update of what's going on, and that is Robert Palacios. Hey, Robert.
Hey Alex, I'm Vince. As you can see, we have a lot of people here. The news from many channels. Daniela here, you have it. We have over more than 80 cars, I believe, an estimated number. The news already started here. We have Chris, one of the organizers. There you have Alex. There's the Big Donald.
That's pretty cool.
You can see we have a lot of cards this one. For Cubans for Biden here to send the message that we are not in favor of Donald Trump and his radical agenda. Look at this. Look how many cards we have here.
Yeah.
Cards.
Wow.
Hey, Carmen. How are you? We're Facebook Live.
Oh,
Facebook Live.
wow. Okay. Sarah.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for
Cards
joining us.
like you see in the banner. Daniela with the Cuban flag. Chris Wills, one of the organizers.
Vince, thank
Hey,
you
Chris.
so much for covering. This is amazing. You've got hundreds of people beeping for Biden, building excitement. The media is covering, sending a strong message. Donald Trump, your days are numbered. Joe Biden's our next president. We're going to elect Joe Biden, the 46th president of the United States, on November 3rd together, and he starts here in Little Havana.
305 for Joe Biden. You can see the news. Venezuelans, Argentinians, every Latin American country here. Puerto Ricans also. Latinos combating here strong in Miami-Dade County. Like you can see, Vince.
That's great to see. And can you show us around a little bit more so that way we can get a full coverage on what's going on down there?
Argentinians, Americans for Joe Biden. Puerto Ricans for Joe Biden. Venezolanos con Joe Biden. Cubano with Joe Biden.
Wow, that's great to see. And are there more cars on the other side, right there, across from the news?
The youth for Joe Biden also.
And where will you guys be departing? Do you know? Do
You
you know
can see
where
the
you'll be
neighbors
departing?
and the next building coming out to see also the momentum here we have. Stop racism. I cannot do it for my sons. I hope to do it for my grandkids. We need to have a better country. That's the banners that you can see here in Miami-Dade County.
Can you hear me, Robert?
Cubans
Robert?
for Biden, 2020. In a few more minutes, we're going to start all the way to Doral, where Donald Trump is going to be speaking today.
Robert, what news channel is that?
Bark for Biden. You can see right here. File Donald Trump.
Robert, what news channel is that?
Mexican for Biden. Puerto Ricans. Heavy background here we have. What a diverse event.
Awesome to have you here. Okay, we're gonna roll out.
Like you can see, Vince, we're going to start in a few seconds.
Great. And do you know the news channel that's there, Robert?
I'm sorry, repeat that again?
The news channel. Do you know what type of news channel it is?
Well, we have many. I believe they're from Telemundo, Univision. I'm not sure. What news channel do we have?
Channel 7.
Channel 7 also. 10 also.
All the local stations.
Every local channel we have here.
Oh, great. And how many cars do you have estimated?
Estimated like 80 something, close to 90.
Wow.
We're
Okay.
going to be going to. It's going to start in a few seconds right now. Chris is going to be joining in a few seconds in your program.
Okay.
Also.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So the viewers can see, I guess, the Caravan live from a car's perspective, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And do you think you could show us a little bit more until Chris gets on? Is that okay with you?
Of course, yeah. We're waiting for them to organize to leave in a straight line all the way to Doral, where Donald Trump is going to be speaking today about immigration and Venezolanos trying to get the vote like they always do. The same political strategy the Republicans have always been using against victims like Cuban Americans and Venezolano and Nicaragua with that Cuban regime. There's talking points that we're against communism and socialism, and that same talking points that they're always used against us. It's very selfish and it's not very correct either. It's very. We're gonna be
Right,
starting
exactly. And
in a few seconds.
we know
We can
that.
be organizing all the way to the back of the building. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
Right, and we know that Joe Biden isn't a socialist or a communist at all. He's a Democrat, and he's been a moderate Democrat for years, but a practical progressive nonetheless. You know, always fighting for the people, but you know, never has it gotten close to socialism. So
We even have people from Brazil supporting Joe Biden.
well, it's great to see that where you guys are actually taking off. Are you guys right now at Calle Ocho?
Correct, that Calle Ocho, yeah, the main center for Cuban exiles.
Great. Okay.
You can see the news channels taking some footage before we leave.
And what's very important that we see, the difference between these events and Donald Trump's events are that one,
Correct. Yep.
everyone is socially distant in their own car, wearing a mask. But it seems like Trump events, there is no respect or regard with the fact that, there is a pandemic, and that's the difference. But here in these events, we keep safe, and that's what's great about it.
Like you say, you can see the diversity here in this caravan from every country, even all the way to Brazilians we have here today. Venezolanos, Cubanos, Puerto Ricans, every country we have here supporting Joe Biden. You can see also the Puerto Rican flag is going to be coming in 2 seconds.
And there's also the sentiment that, most Cubans or Venezuelans, those that have suffered communist or socialist regimes, have, a tendency to lean right. But as you can see from today, that's not true. They believe in someone who is a democratic leader, not an authoritarian.
Correct, yeah.
Acts like one, and thinks that he has power over law, and that's not true at all. And Joe Biden knows that, we need to follow our laws, and he's not above the law, and he knows that, and that's why he'll be a great president.
Yep. And after what he did with Russia, allowing Russia to intervene in Venezuela, what a weak president will allow that. I mean, if it was Barack Obama, we will see how they will call him communism and socialist
exactly.
for that mistake. Yep. And now we have the Chinese in Venezuela also. I mean, this guy is not very Venezolanos con Biden. Also right here. You can see also the people next building who have nothing to do with this event. They're supporting also. I'm not sure if you
It's
can
great
see
to
that.
see.
Can you
Well,
see
Robert,
it?
thank you so much for showing us some footage.
Awesome,
We're
of
going to
course.
take a quick break, and then we're going to show more footage from inside the caravan.
Awesome. Thanks, Vince, for everything you're doing.
All right. Thanks, Robert.
Bye.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
I just think it's a nasty question. You know you're a fake. Today I have strongly recommended that we dominate the streets. When somebody's the president of the United States, the authority is total.
All right, guys, there you have it. And that was a great Biden ad that just came out about a month ago to show exactly who Donald Trump is. And right now we're going to report live with Chris Wills and Daniela Pereira. They're in the caravan right now. We're going to see what they're seeing right now from their perspective.
Hey everybody! Hey Vincent, how we doing? I can barely hear you guys.
Great.
Honestly, there's so many cars, and we've got so many beats. Let me see if I can get you a nice shot. It's pretty incredible. We got the Cuban flag right here. I mean, truly an incredible turnout, especially given that Donald Trump, unfortunately, paid us a visit here in Miami. We've got the whole community, the entire Latino community, Cubans, Venezuelans, Colombians, everybody has come out. I even have Chris over here. He's going to give you a shot real quick.
Check it out. We're at a red light, so we're doing this safely. Just so you can see, this is the lineup of cars behind us. We are beeping for Biden across Little Havana, across Miami-Dade County, all the way to Doral, where Trump visited today. Thank you, Vince, for helping us cover all this.
Thank you so much, Chris, and I appreciate what you guys are doing, showing what's going on the ground. And we all appreciate, you guys putting together these events to show that Joe Biden does have immense support in Florida, and probably even more support than Donald Trump, especially a swing state, right? But people are just tired of the carelessness of seeing.
Absolutely, and it's incredible. You know, it's rainy here in Miami, but rain or shine, we're going to make sure that Joe Biden is elected as president on November 3rd. And there's no stopping this movement. Joe Lentum is real. Let's go, Joe!
Yeah, and it's great to see that so many people are excited and fired up because it's a great thing to see. A lot of support for Joe Biden, changes in the air, so that's great to see. And what's the route that you are heading down right now?
So right now, I think we're near 7th Street, right? So just a street off from 8th Street, the iconic Calle Ocho, again, in the middle of Little Havana, just as the Trump administration was revealed to have asked the question, well, why have a Little Havana? This is why we have Little Havana, because it's part of our heritage. It's part of the American dream. And that's what Joe Biden acknowledges and recognizes, that the Latino experience, the immigrant experience, that's what makes America great. It's part of this beautiful tapestry of diversity that is the United States of America. And the American dream, in large part, lives on because of the immigrant story.
Right, exactly. And thank you, Danielle. And I do follow you on Twitter. I'm sure a lot of people do as well that are watching and know who you are. And, I saw your recent tweet about you being born in Cuba, coming down to the U.S. as an immigrant family. And, you're a proud American today, supporting the vice president. That's great to see. We see that there are Cuban immigrants, people of Cuban descent supporting Joe Biden. And, that rhetoric filled by the Republicans saying that Joe Biden is a socialist isn't true, because we've called out politicians that appeal to socialists. And, we have a clear
It's what we know. When Donald Trump says that he's an ally to the Cuban and the Venezuelan community, we know that's a lie. You can't be an ally to the Cuban American and Venezuelan American community when you are a puppet. And the reality is that under a Trump administration, he has turned a blind eye to Russia, meddling in Cuba, in Venezuela, and in Latin America. And when Joe Biden met with Vladimir Putin, he looked in his eyes and told them to no social. So I know with Joe Biden as president, we will actually have someone that is up there in the White House defending human rights and democracy for the Cuban people, the Venezuelan people, and people that are suffering all across the world through these repressive and oppressive regimes. Joe Biden acknowledges that he understands our struggle, and he's in this fight with us. He's in this fight with us, and that's why we see this incredible turnout here in the middle of Little Havana for Joe Biden from the Latino community.
Yeah, that's true. And we just saw an ad real quick about put out by the Biden campaign explaining that Donald Trump is essentially made from the same cloth as Fidel Castro and Nicolas Maduro and so many other brutal dictators in South America and within our Hispanic community. So when we see people accuse Joe Biden or Democrats of being socialists, they won't appeal to people like Raul Castro, in fact, or the president of Cuba right now, or Maduro in Venezuela. Or Putin even in Russia. We won't see Joe Biden appeal to those people. And there's even that sentiment that he'll appeal to Chinese President Xi Jinping, which isn't true at all, because Donald Trump actually begged for China to help him in re-election. And that's the problem, and we need to put the truth out there, let people know that Joe Biden is actually a decent human being, a true patriot, an American, and not someone that is essentially a puppet for adversaries in our international community.
Absolutely, Vincent. You hit the nail right on the head. We, as Joe Biden supporters, as Joe Biden says himself, we choose to believe in truth, right? We advocate for truth. And the fact is that the Trump administration and the Trump campaign is trafficking in fear. They're using fear and they're using lies to weaponize the votes of our community. But our communities are waking up to the truth. And we know that the truth is with Joe Biden. And then we have a real ally. We have a real opportunity with a Joe Biden administration to actually push forth democracy and human rights in this hemisphere and all across the world.
Exactly. And thank you so much, Daniela. Again, you and Chris are doing such an excellent job in showing us
Thank you,
this.
Vincent.
Yeah, and we'll be right back with you guys when you arrive in Doral. So thank you very much, or we'll be back with you, in touch with you in a few minutes. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Vincent.
We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them, as they slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God.
Those who are lost now, their legacy must be our lives.
I can hear you, and the people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Amazing grace.
I am dispatching thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers. We dominate the streets.
I won't traffic in fear and division. I won't fan the flames of hate.
It's time to pick up our heads. Remember who we are. This is the United States of America.
Some mornings that I wake up, I wonder whether or not we're living in 2020 or 1920. I hear the echoes of the not-so-distant past and the fight that we have fought before. In 1963, Americans witnessed the cruelty of Bull Connor and his dogs and the fire hoses assaulting hundreds of students, some as young as first grade. These images shocked the nation. Today, it's not fire hoses and snarling dogs. It's Donald Trump's poisonous and divisive politics. We've seen the rise in attacks on Jews, the attack on immigrants. His rhetoric has embodied the worst among us. If I've learned anything during the time of Donald Trump being president, is this: hate never goes away, it just hides. I know moments like this can be disheartening. It seems like we're on the verge of so much progress just a few short years ago. That's why we have to restore the soul of the nation. But I haven't given up hope. If Bull Connor had hoped to put a stake in the heart of the civil rights movement, he achieved the exact opposite. Sometimes those who fan the flames of hate end up drawing forth the next wave of progress. We now have a tremendous opportunity because the Americans have been awakened as how bad things are. To take the next step forward, we have a great opportunity to give the marginalized, the demonized, the isolated, the oppressed a full share of the American dream. It gives us an opportunity to root out systemic racism. In the words of James Cleveland, we've come too far from where we started. Nobody told me this road would be easy. I don't believe he brought us this far to leave me. And he will not leave me because of you. So thank you all. May God bless you and may God protect our troops. We have a lot of work to do. Please continue to give hope, hope, hope. Thank you.
All right, everyone. So we're going to go back with Daniela Ferreira and just talk about a couple topics, that we can talk about regarding Trump's visit today here in South Florida, and maybe get some more info on what's going on today and why he's here. So we're going to put on Daniela Ferreira again. Hey, Daniela. So we just go ask some people. I can hear a lot of beeping, so that's great to hear. So just
It's crazy.
We have about 90 cars, maybe 80 to 100 cars.
Yeah, so right now it's a little rainy, but despite the rain, we had over 100, I think it was about 120 people that signed up. And I believe we had about almost 80 or 90 people show up. And again, it's a little rainy. It's typical Florida, right? Liquid sunshine. But the enthusiasm for Joe Biden in this community, again, it's rain or shine. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter how much they try to dissuade us. In November, we are going to show that we are todos con Biden. We're going to show up and we're going to vote like our lives depend on it, because they do. Because right now, we're in the middle of this global pandemic with over 130,000 Americans that have lost their lives. And Donald Trump does not have a plan to actually combat this pandemic. And more beyond that, another important point is that the Latino community, our community, has been disproportionately impacted by the coronavirus. So Donald Trump has blood on his hands, and he has our blood on his hands. So this election is life or death for the Cuban community and the Latino community, and so many communities all across the country that are really suffering, economically, that are suffering with regards to their health care. There's a lot of suffering going on. There's mourning in America. And we are waking up to the reality of what 4 more years of Donald Trump would look like. And let me tell you, we think it's bad now. 4 more years of Donald Trump would be even worse. So that's why, doesn't matter, rain or shine, we will not be dissuaded from going out to vote and making our voices heard and voting for Joe Biden.
Right, and I think we just found out recently, yesterday, international students would return back to their countries essentially deported if they didn't attend in-class classes essentially at their colleges and universities, whereas students are going to attend classes virtually. Students will either have to attend physically in class, or they have a chance to be deported, which is crazy, essentially, because under the Biden administration, we protected DACA recipients and students that improve the lives of many Americans by becoming doctors, lawyers, and contributing to this society that we have. So I just wanted to ask really quickly, because I know I did see Trump's schedule earlier, and it seems like he was supposed to leave Florida about in a minute or so, they said. Do you have any information if he's still right now in Florida?
So let me just give it to Chris really quickly, because he has a quick update on the Caravan.
Hold it. You hold it.
Here we go.
She's going to hold it for me. Just so you guys know, I just got a report from the last car. This Caravan is going to blocks and blocks and blocks of people speaking for Biden. This is amazing. This is the largest turnout that we have had. And this Caravan was organized in 48 hours. 48 hours. This community came together. Why? Because we're done. We're done with Donald Trump. And he may have come to the city and he may have tried to get people to buy into his old scare tactics about socialism. Please, Joe Biden, the lifelong moderate, is all of a sudden a scary socialist? People aren't buying it. And this community, the Latino community, is not buying it. The Latinos are going Biden. And that's what's happening even in the middle of places like Little Havana, where people would think, oh, Trump has tremendous support in Little Havana. Well, guess what? People in Little Havana are beeping for Biden and are going to vote for Biden come November 3rd.
That's great to hear, Chris. And you know, I do believe that the other day, I was down in Lauderdale by the sea, socially distant. We were there at the beach, and there was no one there, thank God. You know, so but we actually saw Marine One being tested out for Trump's visit. You know, and I thought about it, and you know, I saw a vehicle like Marine One that is provided to the President of the United States, keeps the President of the United States secure. You know, and it's these vehicles like Air Force One and the presidential limo. They're seen as, you know, a symbol of leadership. They're seen as a symbol of strength. And the fact that Donald Trump rides in these vehicles that are so presidential and so classy and show a symbol of strength, it's terrible to see that, you know. But it's not the first time I've seen Marine One, but you know, it really hit me yesterday that I was like, you know, Donald Trump is actually riding in these vehicles, and he actually is like president of this country and seen as the leader, you know, of this country. And it's just incredible because we see how international communities are reacting to us, you know, international countries, that the leaders within the world look at us and they think of us as a joke because of the things that Donald Trump does. No matter what he rides in, no matter if he lives in the White House, which is the, you know, the most respected building almost in the planet, it does not matter because he himself is a terrible leader. You know, he's always practically failing because he hasn't kept his promises at all. And, you know, we've seen that yesterday, I believe, or today, reporters asked him before he left to Florida, I think it was today, if he had seen Joe Biden's Build Back Better plan to rebuild American infrastructure and manufacturing jobs and invest in local and small businesses. And he essentially said, yes, they stole my plan. It's a far left plan, but they stole it. So it's very confusing because now he's accusing himself of being a socialist, apparently, or a far left politician, which doesn't make sense at all. And I think that's how you know that we're actually getting to.
Listen, let's be honest. The Trump supporters are desperate. They know that they're losing their grip. When you have communities like Little Havana, communities like Westchester in Miami that have been traditionally ruby red, Doral as well, you know, these communities that are Latino enclaves, right? A big base of immigrants, of Latino immigrants. When they see, and everyone's going to see this on the news tonight, the amount of support that we are harnessing in these communities, they're scared. They're scared because they know without Florida, they're done. This is where we're going to end the Trump campaign. This right here is where we're going to make Donald Trump a one-term president. And we're going to elect Joe Biden as the 46th president of the United States. And you know what? We're going to restore the soul of our nation because it's about time. A lot of people are hurting. Vincent, just as you talked about the new economic plan that the Vice President Biden revealed, you know, just a few hours ago. I mean, incredible. The fact that he is willing to actually take the steps to rebuild this economy after Donald Trump and his administration have worked so hard to destroy it. We need prosperity. We need help. The American people are suffering. Joe Biden understands that suffering, and he's working hard. He's listening. That's the most important thing, is listening to his fellow Americans, and he's putting together a plan to help from coast to coast, from sea to shining sea. There is a place for everyone on this campaign, and we got another Joe Biden supporter on the side. And as you can hear all the beeping, I can't even hear myself think. There's so much beeping. It's awesome. But yeah, no, truly incredible. And I'm just so excited for what 4 years of Joe Biden presidency, the next 4 years are going to look like with Joe Biden as president. It's what we need. It's what we deserve. And that's what we're going to get. It's what we're going to get together. We're going to make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. And just to ask you, back to the Caravan, speaking about it, in Doral, you guys will be finishing the Caravan at that location. What is the exact location that you'll be finishing at, where Donald Trump is supposedly at?
Could you repeat that again, Vincent? Sorry, lots of beats.
Yeah, no problem. I had asked that you essentially will be finishing the Caravan in Doral. And I just wanted to where exactly was it in Doral, Florida that you'll be finishing the caravan where supposedly Donald Trump is located at the moment?
So we're going to be finishing off our caravan at the Miami-Dade Supervisor of Elections in Doral, where we are going to be counting the votes that are going to put an end to Donald Trump's presidency right here in Florida, because they know, I mean, as we've seen, the Trump campaign has made Florida their #1 target. But again, the enthusiasm here in Miami and South Florida and all across the state is palpable. And, you know, we wanted to make a huge statement, starting the caravan in Little Havana after those despicable comments made by Mike Pence's press secretary, and ended it in Doral in the Miami-Dade Supervisor of Elections office, where again, we are going to count the votes that are going to make Donald Trump a one-term president.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, speaking of Miami-Dade Supervisor of Elections, you know, we know that Florida essentially will be the state that will make or break this election. You know, Joe Biden can win developing states. He can win Pennsylvania. He can win other states. Really the map, you know, he could win without Florida, but if he were to win Florida, Joe Biden would be the next president of the United States. And, you know, the strategy here with the campaign with Florida is that we've seen that, you know, from 2008 to 2016, we've seen voters go from to Obama from Trump.
Right.
It's, you know, crazy because it never made sense to me why that happened. But no matter what happened within the 20.
You know, people, they, you know, it's tough. It's tough out there, right? It's tough out there. As great of a job as President Obama did, this is a very large country. It's a very complicated country. And some people, I can understand, they felt a little bit left behind. But, you know, they were willing to put a risk in with Donald Trump, right? They said, okay, well, you know, he's crazy and he says all these terrible things, but maybe he'll be presidential, right? We'll give him a shot. And what we're seeing is a lot of these same people, a lot of Republicans even, you know, they feel like they've made a big mistake. And you even have a lot of people that voted for Trump in 2016 saying absolutely not, Joe Biden all the way, because they've seen the disaster of these last 4 years. So, you know, and the great thing about Joe Biden, again, and what we've been saying since the primary, is that he's someone that can unite this country. He can bring together people on the Democratic side, the Republican side, independents, you know, whatever your political ideology is, Joe Biden has a place for you. He has a plan for you. You know, he has a vision for your future. He cares about you, right? You know, he prays for you. Unlike the current president that we have now, that frankly doesn't give a damn about the American people. All he cares about is himself. And with Joe Biden, we'll have empathy and kindness and love back in the White House.
Yeah. And that's what we've seen. You know, they call it the Big Tent campaign because of the amount of supporters that are supporting it from different ideologies. I mean, we have super PACs and organizations popping out of nowhere, essentially, called like Project Lincoln, which is
right.
a project, and you know, it's a group of Republicans that are going against Trump. And then we also have Republican voters against Trump, which is incredible. Hey, Chris. Oh, you just popped out. But you know, we also have organizations that are supporting Vice President Biden, but on the left, you know, we have Bernie Sanders, senior advisors that supported Bernie Sanders at first, but now realize that, you know, we need to support Joe Biden. And, you know, we saw in 2016 that there was a bit of competition between the Clinton and Sanders campaigns. You know, it was not as, the party was not as united as we wanted it to be. But, you know, according to the New York Times, very recently they wrote a report that Joe Biden has actually united this party faster than most Democratic candidates out there, you know, within past presidential elections. You know, this is probably the fastest he's ever united the Democratic Party. Probably faster than Obama did in 2008. You know, even then, people don't remember that, but in 2008, President Obama and Hillary Clinton, there was a little bad blood there, but, you know, they eventually became very close friends, almost family friends, you know.
Yep.
Exactly. And, you know, I think that's what people need to realize, that people of all ideologies are supporting Vice President Biden. It's not just, you know, a socialist party, you know, with socialist ideas, because if that were the case, we wouldn't have Republican organizations like 43 alumni for Joe Biden, which is a group of advisors or staff workers at the White House during George W. Bush, during his term as president of the United States. You know, we have people supporting Joe Biden. There's even reports saying that George Bush might even vote for Joe Biden himself. Obviously, I'm sure he would want to keep quiet because of his Republican friends, but, you know, even John Bolton, who was probably the most conservative, you know, senior advisor, very almost, I guess, in a way, nationalist, you know, policies, that America First policies. But he even knew that Donald Trump was essentially crazy, right? Like, his policies didn't align with American First policies. And, you know, Donald Trump can scream that as much as he wants. America first, America first, America first. Yet America isn't first. It's not. Russia's first. China's first. Venezuela's first. Cuba's first.
We are first in the amount of coronavirus cases, right? So we're first in the bad parts and deaths, right? So we've had the most amount of coronavirus deaths in the country. And that's what Donald Trump means when he says America first, right? He's putting American lives in danger to serve his own interests. I mean, just recently we found out that Putin was paying the Taliban a bounty to kill American soldiers. And what did he do? Oh, well, he says he never read the briefing, right? Because he doesn't read his briefings. How convenient. Well, now he knows. And what has he done about it? Absolutely nothing. And he's putting our soldiers, people that, you know, risk their lives, American heroes, their lives at risk. I mean, and that tells you everything you need to know about Donald Trump and how little he cares about the American people.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's just crazy to see. Like, I even never thought it would be this big. You know, the amount of Republicans coming over to vote for Joe Biden, almost like a Republican exodus, you know, from the party, because they realize it's no longer the Republican Party. It's no longer a conservative ideological party, right? It's now become the Trump Party, centered around one person, and that's not even American.
You know, yeah.
And it's not patriotic at all either. You know,
the Republican Party, right? On fiscal conservatism, and they actually had some sort of backing policy-wise. But what the Republican Party has essentially become, and you said it so perfectly, the party of Donald Trump. It's the party of hatred. It's the party of division. And, you know, it's the party of the extreme. You know, the Republicans tell the Democrats and the extremists, we're all united. You know, we are the party of unity. We are the big tent party, bringing people together. And, you know, on the point about socialism and communism and the fear-mongering that we've heard from the Republicans, listen, I was born in Cuba. I lived through communism and dictatorship. My dad was jailed on my second birthday for what the Castro regime calls diversionismo ideológico. My uncle was put in a UMA concentration camp and was physically and psychologically abused by Castro's thugs. Nobody has to tell me what communism and dictatorship are. No one. And that's why I'm proud to support Biden.
Yeah, and you know, that story is incredible. I always find it so you know, sad to hear these stories where people are political prisoners or, you know, have been essentially abused by the Castro regime in Cuba. And you know, my grandmother, she fled Cuba with, I believe, her daughter, who was probably 1 year old, 2 years old, and this was back probably in the 60s. Fidel Castro had already taken over, but it was around the Cuban Missile Crisis that my grandmother left, because she realized that things were getting bad. And not just, you know, because he was a communist dictator, essentially, which should be enough to leave, right? But essentially also because, you know, the economy wasn't doing great. You know, there were all a bunch of issues. You know, there wasn't food. People were just being killed left and right as prisoners. And, you know, we've seen almost like a certain mirroring image right now in America where people are just being, you know, killed or brutally beaten on the streets of America right now, you know, and we've seen intense racism in this country, you know, sprouting up because of Donald Trump. We've seen our economic crisis get worse. You know, we're practically in a recession. People called it, I mean, not just people, but financial advisors and pundits called essentially this second depression, in the United States because of COVID. And, I'm not sitting here blaming Donald Trump for COVID-19, because obviously we can't blame him for a virus, but we can blame him for not taking appropriate action at the time when he was being alerted by people like John Bolton that there was a pandemic level virus in China sprouting from, the jungles in China, right? And there are I guess conspiracies right now saying that it may be biologically made, which we don't know everything right now. We don't know all the facts of the origin of COVID-19. But even then, whatever the case it was, we do know that Donald Trump knew as early as December, I believe, or probably even earlier. Correct me if I'm wrong. That COVID-19 was getting out of control, and there was a possibility that it would reach the U.S. And eventually it did. And I remember, we all, our country shut down from one day to another, And I remember, still in school. It was probably like my last month in school, but it was like that last week. Friday, that was my last day of school. But okay, we closed from one day to the next, but we do know that COVID just didn't show up from one day to the next. COVID was probably around us this whole time since the first people that showed up with COVID to the U.S. We just don't know. There could have been countless amounts of people in Florida and across the country with COVID, and people were just getting sick, and it was out of control. And I just feel like Donald Trump has really not handled this crisis very well. I mean, he's done a terrible job. He's doing a terrible job.
That's right. It's been a complete disaster. And as Joe Biden says, Donald Trump didn't start coronavirus. I mean, no one's accusing him of that. That's absurd. But he hasn't done anything to end it, right? Mm-hmm. So he hasn't used his capability as president. He hasn't stepped up as a leader, and that's why we're seeing a new spike in cases, right? Because the approach towards combating coronavirus has been so piecemeal. I mean, you have different cities and counties and states doing different things, and what we need is leadership at the top, right? We need leadership from Donald Trump, from the president. But as we know, and as we've known from the very beginning, he's completely void of leadership. He doesn't know how to lead. He's scared to lead. He doesn't have what it takes. And frankly, he doesn't even care, right? Because one thing is, oh, well, maybe you don't know. But another thing is, he doesn't even try. He's someone that doesn't read his his briefings in the morning. He's not someone that actually seeks out expertise.
He doesn't read them in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. He's never read them. He doesn't care, about his job as president of the United States to take it seriously. The reality is here, guys, that we have a president of the United States who is not taking his job seriously. And there are serious consequences as a result. 133,000 fellow Americans dead. It's closed. Trump does not deserve one more day as president. And the fact, like Daniela said, that Latinos are disproportionately being impacted by the coronavirus, it is so clear the Latino community needs to be the community that denies Donald Trump his re-election, and it starts again here in Miami-Dade County. Look, you hear the beeps?
Yeah.
Biden! I'm gonna go back to beeping. Here, let's show Daniela.
There we go.
Beep for Biden! Both hands. I got the one-handed approach. I got the two-handed approach.
We've become experts at beeping for Biden after very successful caravans all across the state. So we're basically experts at this point. If only Donald Trump was an expert in the presidency as we are with caravans, we'd probably be in a good position. But yeah, going back to the point, especially in the Latino community, here in Miami-Dade County, most of our businesses are small businesses, and we are a majority minority community. And so right now we are the epicenter in the state of Florida of coronavirus cases. And again, the epicenter with regards to the Latino community as well. So it's super duper important that we get out and we make sure that we vote and that we make our voices heard, because we're really suffering. We're really, really suffering here in Miami-Dade County and South Florida and all across the state, right? Because unfortunately, statewide, we have a mini Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, but completely capitulated to Donald Trump's demands, right? With regards to reopening schools, to not wearing masks, to opening up our economy too quickly. I mean, it's really, really unfortunate what we've seen and the lack of leadership statewide at the local level. We're in a crisis. We're in a crisis here locally, statewide, and in our nation. And that's why it's so important that we vote for good Democrats up and down the ballot. And of course, for our homeboy, Joe Biden, Theo Joe, at the top of the ticket, because, again, he cares deeply about our community.
Yeah, and speaking of Ron DeSantis, I think I'm going to give a little shout out to Gwen Graham. If she were governor, this would not have happened. We would probably be on the level of New York that they are right now, where they're coming back. They're doing well right now in New York. I have family in New York. They told me that they're doing well, in terms of COVID. But it's so strange to see Florida, just go into quarantine. We're doing okay, kind of, and then all of a sudden, okay, we're back, and then COVID spikes. The levels spike in Florida, and we see people getting sick constantly. And I just saw local news. Someone just lost both of their children from COVID, and they were both high risk. And there are so many issues that can be considered high risk. Like I have asthma personally. And that under the CDC guidelines is considered a very high risk or moderate risk, depending on how bad the asthma is. But, there are so many issues like heart issues, cholesterol issues, obesity. There are so many issues that can affect someone and, really put them
and even healthy are being impacted as well, right? I mean, this coronavirus, obviously it disproportionately impacts people with pre-existing conditions. But there are people that are young and healthy, and that's why when Ron DeSantis said, we can reopen the schools because no children or teenagers or young people are dying from this disease, just recently had, I believe it was an 11-year-old that died in the state of Florida because of coronavirus.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just, not to mention our teachers. I mean, what we've seen because of the closure of schools, so many people really understanding just how hard teachers work and how underappreciated they are. And for the Republicans and Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump to turn their backs on our teachers and so many of our heroes during this pandemic, our healthcare heroes. My mom is a doctor at Jackson South, and which is a public hospital in Miami-Dade County, and she's seen the negative impacts directly. And, we're asking the same question. We keep asking each other, why don't our officials have our back, right? They call us heroes, but then they just, they're making really improper decisions that are negatively impacting the health of our community. And again, negatively impacting those heroes that are on the front line battling this disease.
Right. And I just want to thank your mom for her service as a frontline worker. I know she's a nurse or actually a doctor, you said, right? A doctor. Yeah. And, she's an incredible job, as a frontline worker. And we thank her for her service. And, we hope you guys keep safe, and, we thank her again. But I just want to mention something, in regards to Donald Trump and his position with COVID. It's hilariously wrong to see that he doesn't want people to wear masks. PPE shouldn't be made available to frontline workers like your mom. And it does not make sense at all. We see, how he keeps talking about this, but, I sometimes tend to wonder, like, if I worked on Donald Trump's campaign, God forbid, but if I thought about it, how could we make Donald Trump look like a hero out of the pandemic? And that's what, Democrats were actually seeing that would probably happen. We're trying to see, I'm a hero, which hasn't happened because nothing's happening right now with COVID. He could have just said, wear a mask, wear PPE, stay home, wash your hands, don't touch your face, keep others safe, keep social distance. And, this would have been not completely done, but we would have been on the right track as Italy or South Korea or any other developed country like us. But it's crazy how we're doing worse than Brazil, and Brazil is half an underdeveloped country, or like Peru. I'm a descendant from some family members that are from Peru, and they're underdeveloped compared to the United States of America, and we're doing worse than them. And that's what's incredible to see that not even his campaign is taking the appropriate stance to make him look like a good president. They just really have no regard for human life at all. And they say they're pro, but they're against, immigration. They're against healthcare for everyone. Even if it's not Medicare for all, but just healthcare as a basic human right. Women's rights. They're not for that either. Or LGBTQ plus whites. They're not for that either. They're just really hypocritical in a way where they say they're pro-life, but everyone else's lives, as soon as you're born, your life does not matter to us. We're not going to give you the needs that you need to live, the proper needs. So I think that's why, America right now is just tired. We're just so tired of, what's going on right now. And even people that voted for Trump, that were diehard Trump supporters, that were MAGA hat wearers, are now working that hat, essentially, because they can't believe how badly Trump has ruined this country. It's no longer patriotic. The campaign is no longer patriotic. As much as they can.
Yeah, and absolutely, and just like doubling down on those MAGA hats and all that sort of propaganda. I mean, again, it just goes to show, like, these are North Korean style tactics. I mean, this is again what dictators do. They perpetuate propaganda. They try to they accuse their political opponents and they say, oh, I'm gonna lock her up, lock him up. I mean, this is exactly what we've seen in Cuba, in Venezuela, and these oppressive regimes. So it's the hypocrisy. And you spoke about the hypocrisy on being pro-life. How can this president possibly claim to be pro-life when he puts children in cages, right? How can this president claim to be pro-life when he refuses to wear a mask? Today, when he came into Miami International Airport, where we have a mandate countywide to wear masks, the president of the United States decided not to wear a mask. So two things: not pro-life, and the whole thing that conservatives talk about, local government and the importance of local government. Well, locally here in Miami-Dade County, you have to wear a mask, and the president of the United States refused. And not just the president, but we actually have a local candidate by the name of Esteban Bogo, who's running for Miami-Dade County mayor, who wasn't wearing a mask either. And again, these shameful. I mean, these people don't deserve our votes. They don't care about us. If they're not even willing to put on a mask, I mean, that just shows you how little regard they have for our lives and the lives of our community. They don't care. They don't care about us. We need a president who cares.
Yeah, and I think we need to make this clear to everyone that's watching, just in case they don't know, because there are people that don't know this, that wearing a mask is not to protect yourself at all. It has nothing to do with protecting yourself. In fact, someone that has no mask and has COVID, if they were to cough or even speak to you, those particles and those essentially like spit particles that contain the COVID disease go through the mask, the fibers of the mask. It's not to protect yourself. The mask is to protect others, because if you wear a mask and you have COVID, then it's very difficult for someone that is at least 6 feet away, or even 2 feet away, to get COVID. But I don't recommend, stay 6 feet with a mask. That's the basic necessity to keep you safe, because even then, if you have a mask and you're talking with someone for at least 15 minutes, standing 6 feet away from them, doctors say that you have a high chance of getting COVID if one of them has it. So that's why, that's the basic minimum, just staying 6 feet away, wearing a mask. That's the basic minimum. So imagine not wearing a mask, not staying 6 feet away. As soon as you talk to someone for at least a minute and none of you are wearing masks, the whole group of people can get COVID. That's just what's crazy to see, that, it's not about you not getting COVID. It's about other people not getting COVID.
Other people. Yeah, and to that end, when he had that rally in Tulsa, where his own staffers tested positive for coronavirus. I mean, he doesn't even care about the people that work for him. I mean, it's insane. It's insane what's happening in this country. And I really hope that people, especially Republicans, realize that it's about country over party. This is not about partisanship. It's never been about partisanship. I myself, I'm a former Republican. I grew up in a Republican household, right? Traditionally Cuban American Republican household.
Right.
But when I started realizing what was going on with the Republican Party and Donald Trump, I said, absolutely not. I mean, how can I, as a Latina, vote against my own interests? It just makes no sense. And so hopefully what we're doing is we're trying to get information out into our communities and elevate, and create platforms for our community so that they understand that the Democratic Party and specifically Joe Biden is on their side and has a plan to help them. I think Chris is good. I'm going to hand it over real quick.
Okay.
Vincent, we're on a red light, so I'm going to try and do this real quick.
Okay.
So everybody see red light behind me. All right, real quick. Look how far back that's going, everybody. Look how far back that's going. All right. Did you see that, Vincent? Hopefully you saw a little bit.
Yeah, that's great footage. I can see it. And that was a lot of cars. You could see, clear support for Vice President Biden today.
And there's a few cars that are behind us at the red lights that are behind us.
Do I call him on here? I don't know what to do.
No.
Okay, well, I think we lost him, but we did see some footage of the Caravan at a red light, which is great. So right now we're going to play a quick ad just to give our people on the ground some time to actually get back up. So we'll be right back with you guys.
Some mornings that I wake up.
We all know that on its own, his work does not capture the full measure of Joe Biden. Folks don't just feel like they know Joe, the politician, they feel like they know the person. When Joe sticks up for the little guy, we hear the young boy who used to stand in front of the mirror, determined to vanquish a debilitating stutter. When Joe talks to auto workers whose livelihoods he helped save, we hear the son of a man who once lost his job. When Joe talks about hope and opportunity for our children, we hear the father who rode the rails home every night so he could be there to tuck his kids into bed. When Joe talks to Gold Star families who've lost a hero, we hear another father of an American veteran, somebody whose faith has been tested and who knows who to lean on to find the light. A resilient and loyal and humble servant. And through his life, he has never once forgotten the values and the moral fiber that made him who he is. The best part is he's nowhere close to finish.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Yeah, hey there.
Sorry about that. I guess we got under kind of like a bad spot. Or actually, no, my battery died. It's so crazy, but
Listen to all those beefs.
Yeah, and we did see some footage of the cars down there, and that's great to see. That there's people actually, a lot of people supporting Vice President Biden in this Caravan. And for those of you that just jumped on, I know we got a little spike in numbers of viewers, but we have a Caravan right now coming from Little Havana on its way to Doral, Florida, I believe. Stopping by, where was it again, the location where you guys will be finishing off in Doral?
So we started our Caravan in the middle of Little Havana, and we are ending it at the Miami-Dade Supervisor of Elections in Doral, where we are going to be counting the votes on the night of November 3rd that will make Donald Trump a one-term president, and where we're going to elect Joe Biden as the 46th president of the United States. I think Chris has to say.
Yeah, Vince, we're seeing so much excitement for Joe Biden across the community. Go back to that. And thank you so much for helping us to cover.
Sorry, it seems like we lost you, Vince. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Thank you so much for covering this, man.
Thank you so much, Vincent. We have really, truly an amazing group of grassroots volunteers that are donating their time, so much of their energy towards electing Joe Biden. I mean, this is all grassroots volunteers that really have a passion for Joe Biden and of a passion for restoring the soul of our nation. And we are just so proud of you, Vincent, and all the young people, especially all the young people. I myself, I'm 22 years old, and we see that our future is slipping away. We elect Donald Trump for 4 more years, so this election is about the future, and it's about the future that we're going to have with Joe Biden as our president, because again, he cares about our community, he cares about, and he has a vision for the future.
Yeah, and thank you, Danielle, again for being there on the ground. You both and Chris for being there. For showing exactly what's going on right there in South Florida. And we have a Latinos Come Biden Caravan to show that we support Vice President Biden over Donald Trump. So thank you very much, Daniela. If I don't know if you guys will be riding somewhere, be able to show some footage. If not, we can show that footage later on and post it on our Facebook pages. So is that something you would prefer?
Sorry, got cut out. My apologies.
Oh, okay. Okay, well.
Hello? Sorry about that. Technical difficulties, it happens.
No,
yeah,
okay.
I can hear you better.
That's, if you guys will be arriving somewhere, will you be able to go at the Miami-Dade elections? Will you be getting footage there, or would you prefer that footage be posted on later on our Facebook pages and social media?
I think we should be able to get some footage. We should be nearing the location in just a little while, so just a few more minutes, and we'll be right there. I'll put on Chris real quick. He can speak to that a little more.
Yeah, so we're roughly about 10 minutes away from Doral. Donald Trump was in Doral today, and he met with a number of Venezuelan and Cuban American community. We just don't know how so many of them can look at Donald Trump's press, right? We see him dictator after dictator, started with Putin during his campaign. Then it was, Xi Jinping in China and Kim Jong-un that he loves to write love letters to. And now, as a half Venezuelan, half Cuban American, it was very insulting for me to hear that Donald Trump was eager to throw Juan Guaido, the rightful president of Venezuela, out the window, right? And basically say, we're now going to start doing negotiations with Maduro, who's not the rightful president of Venezuela. So, this is the history that we've got with Trump. Not to mention, as we've said, look at that. That's amazing. Look at that footage of Karen. That's awesome. Who is that, Vincent? Who's sharing that?
That's Robert Palacios. He's on right now. Showing.
Of course, Robert Palacios. Of course. So, we have in the Trump administration a situation where, he has allowed Russia to take control. Russia is taking control in Venezuela. China's there. And now Iran has raised its flag in Venezuela. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's why the message we're sending going to Doral, where there are so many Venezuelans that live, is very clear. Venezuelan Americans, Cuban Americans, and Latino Americans of all that fly their flag of their Hispanic heritage, but proudly fly the American flag, are going to vote for Joe Biden on November 3rd, and we are going to be rid of Donald Trump.
Yeah, sure. And, it's pretty evident that Joe Biden obviously looks like he will have a large turnout of polls on November 3rd and 4th, because the amount of excitement we're seeing right now, I'm seeing 2 lanes for that caravan, which I don't think we've ever seen before with our past caravans. But, as you said earlier, this seems to be the largest turnout for a caravan we've had. So we're really excited to see this turnout that we can see Robert Palacios is showing us. And I'm going to see you guys from here around Miami-Dade. supervisor of elections office right now. So,
Absolutely, Vincent. You're right. This is the biggest, largest caravan that we've had thus far, the most successful one, and we organized it in 48 hours.
And the next one's gonna be even bigger for Biden.
Absolutely, there's no stopping. There's no stopping us. All the way to November.
yeah, for sure. And that's what's great. We see it inside within our party, within our movement to elect Vice President Biden.
How we doing,
And
Dr. Bob?
does it seem like the
I mean,
caravan
look
is
at that.
probably split up?
Going on 97.
Look at that. Look at all the different flags. And I'll tell you, when we were in the parking lot, obviously 6 feet distant, 6 feet of distance, me and my Venezuelan hermano with his Venezuelan flag and me with my Cuban flag, we were flying our flags synchronized. And we were screaming together, libertad, 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 libertad para el pueblo cubano, libertad para el pueblo venezolano, because that's what we deserve. That's what our people and what the world deserves is freedom and democracy. And it was just such a beautiful moment because it's not the one individual, it's us together as a collective joining forces to defeat Donald Trump and to defeat Trumpism. Let me see if I can get a good shot here. See if I can get a good shot. We were I think
We're just entering the Doral city limits. So those that live in, as we call it, Doralzuela, right? Lots of Venezuelans live in Doral, and it's basically Doralzuela. And we want to thank all the Venezuelans in Doralzuela who have been so supportive of Joe Biden all this time. Look at those shots. Look at Robert Palacios. What an amazing job. The caravan just stretching, going on and on and on for blocks. But we have had several watch parties. You know, when the debates were going on well before the coronavirus pandemic, we have had several watch parties in the heart of Doral again, where so many would say, "Oh, a lot of Trump supporters there." Well, guess what? There's a lot of Biden supporters there. And we're so thankful to those Venezuelans who are recognizing that Trump is trying basically to become the next iteration of Hugo Chavez, right? I say it very clearly, tyrant Trump, Tirano Trump, that's who he has become. You know, and he's trying so desperately to become, and who so importantly, we need to defeat in November resoundingly so that we don't lose our democracy. That's at stake. Our democracy, our country is at stake. And you're talking to a half Cuban, half Venezuelan, and Daniela, somebody who was born in Cuba. Like she said, you guys don't have to tell us what socialism, what communism, what tyranny and dictatorship looks like. Our families know that very, very well. And that's why we are so freaking scared of what Donald Trump is doing.
Right, exactly. And, you know, that's exactly what my family, on my end, you know, I have some Cuban family members that are supporting Joe Biden because they just can't see Donald Trump reelected because they feel like, you know, he's a second generation Hugo Chavez, Maduro, Fidel Castro, and we just can't tolerate that in this country. So I'm glad that we have someone like Joe Biden that will fight against authoritarian tyrannism. I believe. Okay, so we have.
All right, another red light. I just want to show you the dedication of Robert Palacios. Robert Palacios. We're beating for Biden. We got Venezolanos con Biden. All right, go Venezuela. Libre Venezuela. Libre Venezuela. That's right. We're gonna topple Maduro with Joe Biden. That's how we do it, guys. That's how we do it.
Yeah, and that was actually pretty cool. So are you guys all, are you all in the same caravan, or did the caravan get split up at some parts with red lights, or are you guys all good?
We've kept it together. We were on Flagler Street, which is a very long street in Miami. So we've kept together pretty well. But of course, you know, we're such a massive caravan. that sometimes it's a little difficult, but we've actually got a veteran, Bob Remen, who's the last vehicle in the caravan, and we're in constant contact. Bob Remen, an incredible human being, again, a veteran who from day one was a Joe Biden supporter, and he has given so much to this country. Our veterans have given so much to our country, and to see them rally behind Joe Biden, I mean, it's really beautiful, because Joe Biden, his two sons, obviously they were in the military, and unfortunately, his son Bo that passed away from cancer. So, he knows the struggle of a lot of military families, and he will put our military and our military families first, unlike Donald Trump, who has turned a blind eye to the fact that the Russians, Vladimir Putin, again, paid the Taliban a bounty to kill our American soldiers. So, I mean, every veteran should be with Joe Biden because, again, he understands the difficulty that our military families go through and the amount of support that they deserve from their government, which unfortunately under a Trump administration has just not been the case. They have not gotten the support that they deserve because they are heroes, plain and simple.
Right, and I actually have a question for you, Daniela, because as both of us were, Hispanic heritage, we still do see Hispanics supporting Donald Trump.
Cows for Biden.
Oh, we got some cows. We're passing some cows.
Oh yeah.
You know you're in Florida when you got some moo-moos.
Let's just get some cows.
Cows for Biden.
Yeah, so
everybody for Biden.
I know everyone's for Biden right now. So I was asking, we do have some Hispanics supporting Donald Trump, regardless.
Yeah, one more red light.
Yeah.
One more red light. Red light. Here we go. 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 All right, we're gonna run back to the car before the red light turns green. Oh, this is too much fun, but it's really, really important. You guys hear the excitement from the community beeping for Biden.
In the middle of Venezuela, where we have a very large Venezuelan American community, and as you saw, a lot of them, and hopefully we can get a majority of them to come out and support Joe Biden, because again, the enthusiasm is there, and there's frankly no reason for any Latino to vote for Donald Trump, especially when our blood is on his hands.
Yeah, and that's very true. So do you have any advice, to anyone that's watching that wants to get involved and how they can persuade, Latinos across border, across this country, and what should we be doing to, invite Latinos aboard and try to convince them to vote for Joe Biden?
Yeah, so my advice is for it to start at home, right? Have conversations, especially us younger Latinos. Have conversations with your mom, your dad, your abuela, your abuelo, your tío, your tía, your primos, everybody. I mean, talk to your family members. Have these very important conversations and have them understand that this is a binary election, right? One, about restoring the soul of our nation, or frankly, possibly the end of our democracy with 4 more years of Donald Trump, seeing as how much he's allowed, these terrible regimes like the Russians have influence over him. So have them understand and make them understand, especially that point on Russia. We've seen, especially in the Cuban American community, what the Soviet Union did, right? Fidel Castro sold his soul to the Soviets, and look at what we got. And Donald Trump is doing the same. He's selling his soul to the Russians and frankly to the highest bidder, right? Because to him, it's about enriching himself and enriching his family, and he does not care about our community. So please, everybody, have those important conversations with your family. It starts at home. And if you can, also go to joebiden.com and find a way to get involved in the campaign. Make phone calls. Again, even if you're not directly with the campaign, have a call with your friends, your family member. Reach out to them. First of all, make sure that they're doing okay during this pandemic, because again, a lot of people are suffering. But have those important conversations about the future of our country, because it starts at home.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think, people that, support Donald Trump, their argument right now is that, Donald Trump is strong. He's very healthy. He knows what he's talking about. He's a very stable genius. But in fact, obviously he's not a stable genius. He's got a bunch of failed businesses within his business history working for Trump organization. He's really not that healthy. I believe he just eats McDonald's practically. And, on him being strong, he doesn't stand up to dictators across this country. He doesn't, rather across the world. He doesn't stand up to people that are essentially adversaries to the United States. Just the other day, we saw that he was complaining about people saying that apparently he can't walk down the ramp, saying that it was very steep. It was like an ice storm. It was like slipping, it was very slippery. And
silliness.
Right, and then you see a video.
And again, he does these things to deflect from the real issues. You want to talk about stamina? Well, Joe Biden can run backwards, and there's video evidence of that. So, we don't even have to get on that conversation.
Right.
But beyond that, again, these are all just distractions from the real conversations that we need to be having about policy and about the future of our country. Because, you go to the Donald Trump website, and there's no policies. There's no plan for America. Oh, okay, make America great again. Well, what does that mean? When Joe Biden says to stole the floor of our nation, he has an actual plan to do so.
Right, and then now all of a sudden, which is, I don't know what's going on, but saying make America great again, which it's like, okay, so America obviously wasn't great under your term, clearly, that you want to make it great again. It's mind-blowing, but, we do see that, he was complaining about not being able to drink water with one hand, which there's video evidence of him clearly struggling on that. And, we're not here making fun of him, by things that he can't do. We're just trying to say that maybe he's not physically fit to be president. Maybe he's not mentally fit to be president. We're clearly not mentally fit to be president. But, there are issues that are raised that they can talk so much about Joe Biden, but today, in Pennsylvania, he was kneeling on his knee in the street, which is concrete asphalt, and he's kneeling on the street like nothing, without help, and he gets up faster than most young people would probably get up. It's just how incredibly physically fit he is, mentally fit he is for this office. There's no other choice, I think, right now to vote for Joe Biden, to restore our country, to restore the image of the presidency, and he says it perfectly. He says it perfectly that if he were to win the presidency, the first thing he'll do is call up world leaders, our allies, not adversaries, not Vladimir Putin, not Xi Jinping, not Nicolas Maduro, not Raul Castro. No, he's going to call people like, Justin Trudeau, who's Prime Minister of Canada, Boris Johnson of the United Kingdom.
Angela Merkel, our girl Angela Merkel.
Say we're back. America is back.
Yeah. Oh, give me 1 second, Vincent.
You guys are doing a phenomenal job. Thank you so much for covering this. So we're closing in here on the stretch where that's going to take us right by Trump Doral, right? So we're going to give you a good view of that. Make sure you guys see that. And this whole caravan is going to go driving by Trump Doral, beeping for Biden.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what it's so great to see people out there.
Yeah, and Vincent, you were talking about mental and physical fitness, but what we don't really talk about enough is emotional fitness, right? And Donald Trump, again, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about your family. He doesn't care about your community. Joe Biden is someone that has lived through so much tragedy, right? He has so much empathy for his fellow Americans, and he can actually connect, especially during these times where so many Americans are struggling. And we need someone with that sort of emotional strength, someone that will actually put the American people first and, shares the values of our nation, right? Because Donald Trump is not who we are. He's unfortunately a stain in our history, but he's not who we are. He's not who we are. We are an incredible country, a diverse country. We are one of a kind where so many people risk their lives to come to this country because it absolutely is and can be so much better, right? When we actually have good leadership like Joe Biden at the top leading the way.
Right, and you mentioned, his losses, his personal losses in his life. And for those of you that don't know, that may be watching, Joe Biden, his first wife was actually killed in a car accident along with his first daughter, his firstborn daughter. And he received a phone call as he was being, not necessarily sworn in, but there was that period that he was supposed to be sworn into the United States Senate. And he was at work and essentially received a phone call saying that his wife and daughter had died in a car accident. His sons weren't really, they probably weren't going to make it. But, his sons, thank God, lived through that tragic accident. Eventually, we've seen another tragedy with Joe Biden is that one of his sons, Beau Biden, eventually does pass away in 2015 from brain cancer, which is the same brain cancer that John McCain passed away of. And that's why, speaking of that, we've seen John McCain and his family come out in support for Joe Biden. They say it's an obvious picture, not even questioning it, that they would support Joe Biden, considering how much Donald Trump has attacked the McCain family. So that's, again, where we see Republicans, really going to support Joe Biden, just like Republicans like the McCain family. So, those personal losses, that is him empathetic, kind, caring, and, even his religion as a Roman Catholic, I personally I can resonate with that, and so can so many people of faith. Republicans think that they have this, I guess, I don't know, some sort of control or ownership over religion and faith, which, when it's really not true, they probably don't even, their values don't even line with religion. But it's great to see that someone that can, resonate with so many people across America, not just someone that, is a divider, just like Donald Trump is. Donald Trump divides people, and whereas Joe Biden unites them. And people, they say that they know Joe, but ultimately Joe knows us, and that's the great thing about him. And he'll do an incredible job as president of the United States.
Absolutely, and you talk about faith. Joe Biden is someone that carries his rosary with him everywhere he goes. His son's rosary in his pocket. He's quick to say, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for you. And that is part of our culture as a country, right? We have the freedom of religion and from religion, right? You have that choice. And Joe Biden understands that, and he's respectful of both sides, right? So that people can live to their fullest potential and bring everybody into the fold, because that's what makes America great, right? The diversity that we have, and where people get that choice to be their authentic selves and not fear tyranny. I think we are approaching the Trump Doral. Let me hand it over to Chris.
We are approaching the Trump Doral, and we're going to try and give you guys a good view of that. As a matter of fact, Daniela is going to call Robert Palacios here and see if he can pass us and get you some good footage of that, because that is going to be a moment, right, where we're beeping for Biden at a property that is owned by Donald Trump, where he has tried to use our tax dollars. And there's Robert, I think, right? Is that the footage of Robert?
Yeah, that is.
Awesome. Robert Palacios is there. So we're gonna try and get him to go ahead of us so that he can get the Caravan passing in front of Trump Doral. That would be phenomenal if we can. I know that Daniela's going to work on that, but Vincent, this has been nothing short of amazing. We're getting to the end of this route, but the fact that on a day like today, where Donald Trump came to our community and continued to spew his divisive rhetoric and false promises to the Latino community, and continued to try and scare people about Biden, being some scary socialist, which he's never been his entire life. But all of a sudden, he wants to convince people that that's the
So
case.
it's just you keep
So
going down this road. So if you
we
just kind of stay
we want to make sure that
and then
people
we'll lead the way
in
after
our
we pass
community and
the
across the
Caravan.
state
But
through
just so
this
you can
live
see
stream
us.
see how much excitement and enthusiasm there is for Joe Biden in this community. And this is what we're seeing all over the state. We've done this is our fourth Caravan, and we've done I think 15 or 16 different communians across the state of Florida, and they've all shown this level of enthusiasm. And we saw Vincent. We were talking about it last weekend.
Exactly.
For the 4th of July in Ruby Red, Sarasota, you had 70 cars getting people to beat for Biden. That's amazing. Amazing.
All right, I'm gonna let you go.
So no, keep him on the phone. I'm gonna put Danielle on. I'm gonna put Danielle on. All right. So Robert.
All right, and I'm back. Awesome, guys. So we are about to pass the truck around. We're very near to it. This is actually where we did one of our stops on our first Caravan for Donald Trump's birthday. Where we stopped by several of his locations throughout stuff. And there's Robert.
Go slow, so that you can get the Caravan going back.
There we go. Let him come behind you, Chris.
No, I don't want him to go behind.
We're trying to manage 80 cars.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so here we go, you guys. We are about to pass the chapter out, and we're beeping for Biden. Let's go, Joe! Let's go, Joe! Let's go, Joe! I don't know if you guys heard what get that, but hopefully Robert will be on the live stream now. There he is, and that's all of us passing the tractor out. Incredible. And you see, I don't know if that's the Venezuelan flag, I think it's the Venezuelan flag. So it's just incredible seeing so much of our community come together and, repudiate what Donald Trump represents, which is hatred and division and tyranny. And we want freedom and democracy, and we want Joe Biden for president.
Yeah, and we did.
Just look at that! Look at that amazing sea of cars. Yeah. And they're just now. A lot of them are passing the Trump Doral. Obviously. Doral has a lot of traffic, so we're not contending with that, but pretty incredible, what we were able to accomplish today.
Right, and we did capture some footage of Trump Doral.
Thanks, man.
Wow, there we are, and Joe is riding with us, and we're riding with Joe. Woo! That's our car.
Do you think
pretty awesome when we have Joe Biden riding right with us?
Literally, Joe Biden leading the Caravan. Yeah, go ahead and follow us now. Yeah. You got it.
Do you think Robert can get some footage of Trump?
Pretty awesome, guys. Pretty awesome. And I'll tell you, I've had that Joe Biden decal on my car for a few days already, and as I drive around the community, people just love it. I get beeps, I get thumbs up. From every corner of Miami-Dade County, and actually every corner of the state, because I've traveled all the way up from the Keys, all the way down from the Key West, from the southernmost point of the United States and of Florida, all the way up to Jacksonville. And the amount of support that we have for Joe Biden, again, the beeps, the thumbs up that we get for Joe is just incredible. And again, it's just a testament to the fact that we are on the precipice of flipping Florida blue with Biden.
Yeah, for sure. And if you've seen the polls, there's countless polls saying that, Florida might turn blue. Well, it has a very good chance of turning blue, just not might, but very good chance of turning blue. Texas it might tilt blue. North Carolina might tilt blue. And we've seen these states usually go red. But again, people are tired and they want real leadership. People like Joe Biden to lead them to prosperity. So I think, Joe Biden will do a great job at that. Again, we spoke on how he's empathetic, how he's kind, how he knows what he's doing. He's physically fit, he's mentally fit, emotionally fit. Despite the personal tragedies, he's very emotionally fit. And I think it's very clear, that Joe Biden has a lot of support across this country, regardless of what ideologies you have. He's having conversations with people that worked for Bernie Sanders' campaign. He's having conversations with people that were, previous Trump supporters, that were previous, that they supported George Bush or supported Mitt Romney or supported John McCain. He's talking to Republicans and Democrats, whether they be on the left wing or on the right wing, and he knows that he can bring people together. And people have always doubted him. They've doubted, Joe Biden. Oh, his campaign is over. He won't make it. South Carolina won't save him. And what did South Carolina do? It saved him. And so did Nevada. Latino voters and Black American voters really saved Joe Biden and our campaign, because it wasn't even about saving. We were always there. We were going to vote for him from the very beginning. And, his campaign didn't need to be saved because it was.
Vincent, sorry to stop you right now, but we just got to our ending location at the Miami-Dade Elections Department right here in Doral, where we've ended our caravan. Tremendous success. And again, this is the place where we are going to be counting the votes that are going to make Donald Trump a one-term president. I mean, just incredible. We're going to get out right now to see, if we can get some more footage. I'm going to give it out to Chris.
Here we are, guys. All the cars pulling into the Miami-Dade Elections Department. This is where the votes are going to be counted that are going to defeat Donald Trump on November 3rd of 2020. That's right. We got our Biden flags. We got our Cuban American flags. Cheryl Unger all the way from Brown. Latinos from we proudly wave the American flag. The cars just keep coming. The cars just keep coming. Look at this, Miami-Dade Elections Department. Yeah. Look at this, in Doralzuela. That's right. That's what it's all about in the car. Look, and we got Barks for Biden. Barks for Biden. Let's check that out. Check that out. So this, as you can see, we did have a few folks on the way. There's a long drive. We got a lot of people here at the Miami-Dade election voting for Biden, sending a strong message. This election is going for Joe Biden. And, I think today's Caravan was a really awesome symbol. We had our caravan started out and unfortunately some rain, but when we ended, ended on a bang, which is great. Thank you guys so much. Go Daniela. And the reality is, guys, we have a lot of work to do. There's some stormy times that we've seen through these last 4 years, but with Joe Biden, we got much better weather ahead for America. That's the forecast I've got.
Yeah, and we have the enthusiasm all the way through November 3rd, because we need to win this election, not just by a little votes, but by a lot, because we need to end not only Trump's re-election chances, but Trumpism itself. So we can really fully unite the country.
Yeah, and Vincent, just so you can see our level of enthusiasm, even in the rain, we're going to be out here cheering on Biden. It may be raining. This is the Sunshine State, but we're going to fill it with liquid sunshine. And we got Daniela, Cuban-American, Venezuelan-American at the Miami-Dade Elections Department, making sure we have our voices heard. I want to thank everybody who's been watching. Join our next caravan. We got more planned. Make sure you connect with us here on Latinos con Biden. Connect with the Biden for Florida page. Stay connected with us because we got a lot of more excitement coming real soon.
Yeah. And just some extra information. I believe our friend is still providing people some Biden signs at the Box Gallery. So you can visit his website and get in contact with him. And he's providing people with the money living for our family Oh, okay. So we have some protesters, but that's one out of 80 people that are supporting Joe Biden. And I can explain that we've had past caravans where some issues happen, but it's nothing compared to the amount of excitement, the amount of enthusiasm and support that we have for Vice President Biden. And we've seen that countless times again. So again, I want to thank everyone for being with us today. I want to thank Daniela and Chris for joining us, as well as Robert, who really helped us get footage of the caravan on the ground. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today and watching our live stream. And please go ahead and like and share on Facebook, Instagram. Let us know, what we can do to, either improve caravans, do more events. But for sure, we have been doing a great job in these caravans, as you can see, and we'll continue to be doing them. So again, thank you so much. And we were speaking about Republicans for Biden earlier, and I just want to show you the Lincoln Project, which is an organization that is supporting Vice President Biden, constantly making ads. I did show this earlier, but for those of you that just got on, I want to show you again. This is an advertisement from the Lincoln Project, and they've been doing a phenomenal job on their ads. So again, thank you so much, and please vote for Joe Biden on November 3rd. Thank you, everyone, and please join us for our next caravan.
We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them, as they slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God.
Those who are lost now, their legacy must be our lives.
I can hear you, and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Amazing grace,
dispatching thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers. We dominate the streets.
I won't traffic in fear and division. I won't fan the flames of hate. It's time to pick up our heads. Remember who we are. This is the United States of America.